Like, you know, it'd be nice. Pop in real quick. Take these things. Ooh. New type of boots. And linen? Oh, that is cool. There is a monster of some variety over there. Can we loot all these things? Broken ore. Wow, actually, broken ores floating in the water. It's so realistic. It makes so much sense. Jugs floating in the water. Alright, but let's check this place out more thoroughly.
Only blood-soaked scraps left of the victim's clothing. Good quality cloth.
A wealthy victim, correct?
Looks it.
Okay. Yeah, and we heard that previously. That the previous victims were also wealthy victims for whatever reason. So that trend does continue
Blood.
here.
Guardsmen pulled these nets out of the water, then cut the mutilated body free.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Gonna dive in, make sure they didn't miss anything.
Yeah, we did kind of get ahead of you a bit there. So also, what is this?
Look at the rut. Guardsmen left this site by boat recently, probably to transport the body somewhere.
Okay. Let's read up a bit here. So, use your witcher senses to search the nets for clues guardsmen might have overlooked. At long last, the giant lay defeated, and the men who had vanquished it could make their introductions, then engage in the kind of conversation that oft happens over a fresh monster corpse. The young giant slayer gave 3 arrivals fresh tidings. The beast had struck again. The body of its most recent victim now lay on a riverbank nearby. Geralt decided he needed to see it and explore the crime scene, while Milton thought it both wise and courteous to accompany the Witcher. Okay, now let's just take a second here to read up on those enemies that we just fought. Oh, Beast of Beauclair? I feel like we are maybe not really supposed to be reading that right now. That's new, but that feels like that's the guy we're searching down, or the thing we're searching down. And sometimes we've gotten hints that felt like they've been a little bit spoilery when it comes to big enemies, if we read stuff about them too soon. So I'm deliberately just going to focus on these guys, the Scurvers. Ooh, they look nasty. Thought it was just a pile of rotten meat. So it started to move. Bibots of Beauclair. Scurvers are rot fiends' larger cousins. Okay. Bodies of these hideous, vaguely humanoid creatures are covered with rotten scraps of flesh, under which lurk even more rotten muscles, stretched around a strong, flexible skeleton. Scurvers, which feed on old, rotting corpses, prefer to make their hunting grounds in abandoned torture sites and forgotten graveyards and old battlefields. They're very aggressive, and though they feed on corpses, they come across a living person they are likely to attack. Thus, when wandering near any of the above-mentioned places, one must be especially cautious. Scurvers usually feed underground, but sometimes, when they catch the scent of a human, they crawl to the surface in a matter of seconds and attack their potential prey. While fighting them, one cannot afford to forget about their special bony spines, razor-sharp protuberances sticking out from their skeletons. When a Scurver is near death, the gases and enzymes gathered within its body cause it to explode, flinging these spines out at great speed, turning them into one last deadly weapon in their arsenal. To protect oneself against these spines, one should make prodigious use of the Quen sign. Okay, that is what I think. I'm surprised it actually doesn't say that you should use Quen against them in the list here, just as necrophage oil. But yeah, that is at least generally the... Oh, I suppose it's the same thing for normal rot fiends, so makes some sense, but... Okay. So.
Junk.
Just more junk.
More junk.
And we're looking for more clues you might have left behind. What is this?
Nets were attached here.
Okay. Not sure that really tells us much. But I see some red here. Further out in that direction. Is there anything else? Or is that our sole target? It may be our sole target? Oh, okay. Not sure why that copper mug was red, but maybe we're about to find out, because... Oh? Clever. Clever. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. We did also recently pick up these boots. TOUSSAINT Guardsman's boots. They're light armor, which means that we could potentially consider using them. But at least this Master Rarity version is not particularly intriguing. Definitely not as good as our current New Moon boots. And where is that little handkerchief? Is it in this section? Perhaps not. Wait, what is this? Oh, that's actually the summons. Okay, so that is new. I was gonna say that looks quite elaborate. Okay, maybe we forego this here, or at least not seeing it right now. It might be in a different section. Top left. Oh yes, I saw it. And now it is no longer top left. Where'd you go? Oh, it's a silver lid. It's like, it's destiny. I don't remember picking this up, but fantastic. Here it is. Handkerchief monogrammed DLC. Interesting choice of initials you have there. If you know what I mean. Actually, just surface real quick here.
Chief, monogrammed DLC. A noble's accessory, clearly.
Clearly.
Be nice to know where they took the corpse.
Absolutely. Definitely not a reference to the type of game we are currently in right now. Definitely not. And a wooden spoon. Oh boy. We're rich. We're rich. Alright, let's go chat with Milton here. You know anybody with the initials downloadable DLC?
What now?
This isn't the site of the murder. We know that. Current brought the body here. Corpse got caught in the nets. Guardsman pulled it out, put it in a boat and took it somewhere. Need to find out where. I'd like to look at the corpse before it starts to decompose.
The inn. Its patrons must have seen the guardsmen, which direction they took. We should ask there.
Just casually staring at us. Got nothing better to do. It definitely does seem like there's at least someone, perhaps numerous someones, watching us right now.
Seems we've got ourselves an audience.
You think this surprising? The locals will tell the children of children they do not have yet of the day
What?
the quartered corpse was pulled from the river.
Really? Hey, I guess so. Sure. Didn't think it was that dramatic. But we did also find that handkerchief.
One thing. Found a handkerchief in the water. Monogrammed DLC. Mean anything to you?
Delacroix?
Of course.
Was it he the beast slew?
Seems so. Knew him well?
Long past. We were close friends once, but our paths diverged. He was a man of extremes, standing by his companions no matter the odds, fighting his foes to the bitter end.
Foes? You have a lot of them?
He did, but I do not see what that has to do with the beast. Ah, Geralt, you've struck a raw nerve.
That is true.
Memories of
Does look quite
time
hot here in
long
those black
past,
clothes.
to which I'd rather not return now.
understand. We can talk later. Let's go to the tavern.
I shall have to leave you soon. Return to court.
Barely got back to Toussaint.
A knight in the service of Her Illustrious Highness knows no rest. In fact, I'd feared I would return too late to fulfill my duty. Yet it seems I've arrived in the nick of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Like, we just open up our map real quick. Like, if we're talking geography here, yeah, it's quite a bit further south than the other areas that we've been. So presumably, it's considerably warmer, although, I was saying this a while back, it's a little strange that the Skellige Isles are so cold, given how they're actually further south than Vizima, White Orchard, Velen, Novigrad, and certainly Kaer Morhen. I mean, just look at this. Like, Kaer Morhen is perhaps even further north, or is farther away from the other areas that we've been than TOUSSAINT is. So if TOUSSAINT is considerably warmer than the Vizimas and Velens of the world, then you have to imagine Kaer Morhen should be significantly colder than everything else as well, but it didn't really seem like it was. You know, it wasn't like it was covered in snow. Didn't really hear people complaining too much about the winters. I mean, or I suppose, I feel like Lambert did at one point in time, but, you know, compare that to Skellige, where there's actually snow on the ground for large stretches of land, and you have the second furthest south area is the coldest, whereas the furthest south area is by far the warmest. Just a little strange how there's definitely some inconsistency there. I mean, ocean currents can mess with that stuff, yes, but if anything, those ocean currents should be normalizing the weather, making it more moderate rather than making it more extreme. We cannot go through here. Darn. Alright, let's get back. Following you. Ooh. Almost missed that dried fish. Couldn't have lived with myself if we had.
The corpse, be sure to report to Anarietta.
Anarietta?
Her Grace, the Duchess. I forget myself at times. We address
Oh.
each other by our first names in private. Never in Pomrin's presence. He finds such familiarity offensive. A watering hole for traders, smugglers, boatmen. But you will find no better crayfish chowder in all Toussaint.
Oh, it's like home. We talking chowder? Hold up. We talking chowder?
By my troth, could that be the musty scent of fresh pâté?
Naught else, Sir de Peyrac-Peyran. I see time has not dulled your senses.
We would be honored if you would join us. Your companion as well.
Yeah.
But why do
What's
I
their
not
deal?
detect even a whiff of crayfish chowder?
No soup.
Therefore, we are not
On
interested.
account of there being no crayfish. I reckon you've not heard.
Have you tried clams?
Orlacott was a corpse. I awoke at the crack of dawn, as I do each day. But when I looked up, I beheld a blood-red sky.
This corpse is precisely why we're here. For the man whom you've invited to join you at the table was summoned from a far-off land by her gracious magnificence. He is tasked with tracking and killing the beast.
We invited two men to join us, yet since Sir de Peyrac-Peyran in temperament is more akin to hare than hound, I surmise the other is the hunter. With whom do we have the pleasure?
I mean, I guess he did kind of introduce us already, but, hey dude, we're Geralt. What's up?
Name's Geralt.
A humble introduction.
Name's Geralt.
You've clearly
What's up?
not tarried long with Sir de Peyrac-Peyran.
Spare us the petty insults. Geralt is a master of the witchering trade. He has questions concerning the beast's last victim.
I was the one to find the corpse.
Oh?
The sun had just risen when I awoke, sat straight up in my bed, looked out the window, and beheld a sky red as blood.
Ask Geralt.
I'm sure it was just a
Or we
coincidence.
shall be here till winter.
Although, I mean, care to explain that in a little more detail?
Must have been early in the morning. Went went to check your nets.
Clearly it was
and
just, you know, sunrise.
Out of my hut and saw.
By my troth, to the point, man. You found a body ensnared in your crayfish nets. We know this already. What happened then? Did you see anyone nearby? Did you spy anything noteworthy? Anything at all?
Ah, there actually is a pole in north. Isn't exactly up. I should double
As for
check.
noteworthy. Well,
What did you see? But be warned, if I hear the sky was red again,
I saw a head bobbing, eyes bulging, the tongue blue and popped out.
That doesn't
Next
sound
to
good.
it, a hand rocking upon the water.
Get a good look at the body parts.
They gave me such a fright. I bolted to town fast as my legs would take me, then returned with guardsmen who told me to keep out of their way. They had a hard haul. The parts were so tangled up in my nets, they were forced to cut them.
Okay, but where are they?
Need to examine the body. Know where they took it?
They ferried it across, then loaded it on a cart and hauled it to a cellar at Corvo Bianco to keep it cool, see?
what? Why, Corvo Bianco is Baron Russell's estate. When he learns they've turned his cellar into a morgue, he'll set his hounds on them.
While you were gallivanting about the north, his vineyard was auctioned off.
Who is that?
Who was that? Woman who just left. Didn't see her before. Didn't notice her walk in either.
Doubtless Ninnis.
A ninja.
But hold, Geralt, because this is an outrage. Russell's vineyard was auctioned off? Inconceivable.
It is no secret the Baron had gambled.
Inconceivable.
His ears. It finally came time to collect. His creditors auctioned off his property. The Ducal Chancellery bought it, in fact. Russell now bunks with his brother in Vicofaro.
I told Russell he'd get his comeuppance. How long can one draw on past heroics? His creditors must finally have defined that his promises meant nothing.
Such are the times. Today's knights are pale shadows of the heroes of yore. It's true what they say. God sent the beast to punish us for straying from the old
Whoa.
paths.
The beast? The beast we dealt with last year. Back in the outskirts of Vizima. Thank you very much. We already took care of that guy. This thing is different. That much I can say with confidence. Folk are saying the beast is divine punishment, though. That is actually basically the same description that people had back in The Witcher 1 for that beast as well.
So folk think the beast's divine punishment.
Knights have turned their backs on the old customs. Where they were defenders of the duchy, they're now defenders of their own tushes.
You insolent.
Let him talk.
Dare.
The Duchess trades in titles, grants honors to ill-doers. We've strayed from the path of virtue, lost the gods' favor, so the gods sent retribution.
Don't listen to that nonsense, Geralt. It's rehashed street preacher codswallop.
Yes, the rebel rousers have been sprouting up like weeds lately, each offering the same bill of goods.
What else have people said about this beast? Is it, say, a strange, glowing, orangey color, happens to be quadrupedal, looks remarkably like a dog of some variety, although it can actually talk?
They say anything else about the beast? Besides it being a messenger of the gods?
The TOUSSAINT are no fools. They see clearly the beast kills on days honoring patron saints.
Picky monster.
Really? That is an awfully elaborate schedule to keep. That, along with deliberately just going with high-class nobles or whatnot as the victims. But, okay. I suppose we'll go examine the body now.
Thanks for the hospitality. Time I examined the corpse.
Corvo Bianco lies a short way from here, near the tourney grounds. Just follow the road and you'll arrive.
Not coming with? Oh yeah, duty of some sort calls.
Some sort. Her Grace bestowed a great honor on me, even before we departed for Velen. I'm to play the hare during this year's game in the Palace Gardens. When you
Oh.
see me in my costume, you will wet yourself.
A little
Oh,
tempted to
dear.
ask a few questions, but it sounds like a long, complicated story. One involving lengthy digressions into local history and tradition. So, see you later, Milton, and good luck.
Okay. So now we go to Corvo Bianco and examine the body kept in its cellar. It has become a bit of a morgue. Oh, what is this? I don't think we've read this yet. The last day of the tourney had come, and it was now clear Gottfried would tilt against the mysterious chessboard knight in the joust. Gottfried was the ducal champion at the time, so all were counting on his victory. No one knew a thing about the chessboard knight, except that he had come from the south in dark armor and had a shield bearing 64 black and white squares. But I assure you, we counted. We are certain it was 64. When the herald trumpeted the signal, the knights charged at each other. Gottfried's lance shattered against the chessboard knight's shield, and the mysterious knight swayed in his saddle. No mere mortal could have survived such a blow, yet the chessboard knight did not fall from his horse, but instead struck a blow of his own on the next pass, knocking Gottfried to the ground. Victor approached his defeated foe, stuck out his hand, and helped him stand. Before the herald could announce his victory, he took off his helm, and all beheld his eyes of coal and face of burnt cinders. I've come from a time long past to remind you of humility, which is a long-forgotten virtue. My name was consumed by dragonfire when I perished, victim of my own pride. After saying these words, the chessboard knight rode off. No one stopped him, yet they repeat his warning to this day. Huh. Interesting. We may or may not have just knocked that guy into the fire. Don't know how much, is that just purely myth? Or is there some decent truth to that story? Okay, I just want to loot this, if you don't mind. Also, should we be concerned about how there was a casket in this little spot, right next to where people are eating in this tavern? That feels like that's a little bit strange, if you ask me. Let's see what else we have here. Hey, excuse me, traveler. Wait, could we please see behind you? Okay, it does seem as though perhaps we are going to find several new books, and after having, goodness, what felt like the same book being the one we picked up, like, every single time, nice to see that a bit. And Goliath, that's the name of the enemy we just fought. There were many brave and true knights in the service of the old Duke, but the greatest of them all was Louis Alberni. His crest showed a red field with a golden star, each of whose 5 points stood for one of the chivalric virtues. Yet fame and glory went to Alberni's head. Years passed, and he began to think himself the most perfect of all knights. In the end, he came to think he was virtue incarnate, and there was no one in the world who preceded him in this regard, something even the Lady of the Lake must recognize. Alberni thus set off to see her and gave her and have her pay him homage in honor of his excellency. Yeah, that's very humble of you to do. Yet as Alberni approached the lady's home, his body and equipment began to change. The slender knight grew more and more corpulent, until his horse could finally no longer bear him. His sword first became wooden, then turned into a mace, and his shining armor became dull and turned to ash. All he had left was his helmet, which turned into a wooden cage. Alberni stood on the shore of the lake, wishing to speak, yet all that came from his lips was a wild cry. The knight peered at his reflection in the lake's waters and understood he had become a giant. The Lady of the Lake then emerged and said, "You abandoned the chivalric virtues long ago. Of all your sins, the greatest was pride. It has changed your sword into a mace, deprived you of armor, and made your flesh into that of a beast. From now on, you shall be known as Goliath. Go to Mount Gorgon, where you shall live in this form, or far from the eyes of men, accompanied by the painful memory of your lost glory, until the day death mercifully frees you from your torment. That's pretty dark. But it does seem as though that is a big theme already. So many people talking about glory and honor. And that was not necessarily the focus in the Northern Realms, I would say. A lot of people just looking out for themselves, not really caring what others thought of them. Whereas it does seem as though this time around, what with all the knights and whatnot, it honors perhaps a much bigger role. Glamour and Saltpeter? I thought we got... Saltpeter or something else that it didn't look like that. New items, or like generic-ish items as well, it would seem. No idea what that is. Free the hair of its skin and massage its flesh with your blade till but small bits remain. Slice out the back of it a flattened pig, along with a handful of carrots and perhaps a parsnip and an onion. Throw the lot into a well-seasoned cast iron pot, along with some diced bullets. Add bread to the broth until it is so thick your spoon stands. Then give it the best stir you can. Stir a half-dozen eggs into the slop and mix it thoroughly, along with some ginger, salt, and margarine. Rub some fat back on a pan till it's nice and greasy, then pour the mixture onto the pan and put it in a hot oven for the time it takes to recite 2 litanies to Saint Phlegmond. By then, the pate will be golden brown and well baked. Okay. And then we have, this scroll that was the summons from the Duchess, which, we kind of made fun of our friends for giving a long, elaborate speech when we suspected that perhaps Anna Henrietta had just said, hey, get over here. Most honorable Geralt, slayer of monsters and all evils nefarious which prey on the defenseless of this world. Whereas never have you been known to deny help to the innocent, nor leave widows and orphans to fate's undeserved. Yeah, I think this is exactly what they read, though. Answer you now our present summons. Free us from the beast which floods our streets with blood and sows panic in the hearts of rich and poor alike. Come to our aid, Witcher. Thus humbly beseeches you the Star-Crossed City's most gracious protectress, Heir Illustrious Highness, Duchess Anna Henrietta. Or Anna, I think they've technically been pronouncing it Anna. Oh, the recipe for crayfish chowder! To shell the crayfish, then remove heads, pincers, and tails. Grind these in a mortar. In a saucepan, fry onion and garlic with a sprig of thyme and butter until transparent. Add the crayfish flesh and fry. Pour in a good vintage muscadet, and then add bouillon. Blend the contents of the saucepan thoroughly, transfer to a stew pot, add dill, and simmer. Once done, thicken the soup with a half quart of cream and a tablespoon of butter. Add wild herbs to taste, and don't spare the dill. Even a whole bunch will not be too much. I am a fan of dill. I approve this message.
Normally, I'd encourage you to try our famed fisherman's chowder. But alas, we are all out of crayfish.
This
Replace
is
them with
a
something
tragedy.
else. Perch, for example.
Replace crayfish with fish? I beg
How
you.
dare you even suggest such a thing?
For wine,
Get out of here.
parsley for time? Huh? Your nordlings are a pleasant lot, but about cuisine you know nothing.
Okay, now we can play with Gwent. We can also ask you if you've heard any rumors. Sure, I guess. Oh, that's true. Dating back to the casket comments, yeah. Suppose caskets don't necessarily need to be coffins per se, although that is at least immediately comes to mind.
Got any gossip? Fishermen talking about anything interesting?
Yes, about a nordling who would replace crayfish with pike.
Hey,
Asked a serious question.
And the tactless one. I do not eavesdrop on my clients, and I certainly don't repeat anything I chance to hear.
all right. I mean, to be fair, that is quite the honorable thing to do. Like we were saying, it does seem as though that is high on their priority lists of the people around here. Is staying, being an honorful person. Let's see what you have to buy or sell, and then we'll we'll do Gwent after that, because you might have Gwent cards.
Show me what you got in stock.
That you do not, unfortunately. You do have some of the more difficult to find alcoholic beverages, yes. And some new foods here, like ratatouille. Well, okay, I mean, it's like pretty aggressively embracing the French brioche, the French influence, croissants. Did we see croissants before? Maybe. Flamiche. Interesting. He only sells Gwent cards if you did not get them all in the base game, and this is, well, our indication that we had it. Well, I mean, we had a quest for it, right? I suppose that's a way for people who go straight into Blood and Wine to catch up on all those Gwent cards, because that is a thing you can do, right? It is possible to just start straight at Blood and Wine, or maybe even Hearts of Stone as well, and just not even play the base game, and you, like, come in with a level 30-something character. Obviously, we didn't do that, but I think you can make that happen if you really want to. But let's play you at Gwent. You might not be selling Gwent cards, but you might give us one if we beat you. And okay, interesting here. The generic Gwent players in the base game would typically have anywhere from a 1 to 10 coin bet, but this time 20 or 1 to 50, averaging out at 25. And I think that's much better because, I mean, early game that was one thing where it's like, okay, you know, we'll get some coins, but by late game, you know, 5 coins is completely insignificant. 25 is actually still relatively small, but I think if you went all the way up to 50, I suppose that's something. Let's do it.
Not likely to taste your famous fisherman's chowder, so maybe we could play some Gwent.
Oh yeah.
Today, swilling wine, rolling in the hay.
Talking trash to us now? Oh, and new music for this as well. Okay, so one thing that I thought would be kind of funny, I know we did, I think, play Nilfgaard most recently, but it'd be kind of funny to play, you know, as Nilfgaard against Nilfgaard. We did also recently gain the Olgierd von Everett card, which I think we should probably add to possibly every deck. It's good. I don't think it's going to be our best card, per se, in any of our decks, but it's a solid addition. You know, like, say, possibly even getting rid of Triss. I mean, just looking at... We don't have much remaining here in terms of basic units. I mean, even 1 power medics, but those are probably still useful enough that we'd like to keep them. Gillard Fitzosherlin is a spy, and spies are great, but he's a 7 strength spy, and that's a pretty powerful spy. And by that I mean giving our opponents a pretty powerful unit, so that's not so great. So you could almost make a case for taking him out. But I mean, Triss is just 7 strength, which is not a ton. Like, you have the dragon, which is 7 strength, plus the melee scourge, which is potentially pretty big. So I think we get rid of Triss, because basically it comes down to, if you have... Where'd you go, Olgierd? If you have Olgierd plus 1 other unit in a row, then he's equal to Triss, although he is not immune to special cards, unlike Triss, so he can get doubled, but he can also get Scorched. That's either a good thing or a bad thing, could go either way. But if you have 2 other units in that same row, or more than that, then he is better than Triss. So a little bit of higher risk, higher reward. But I think we have enough heroes in this deck that that's probably fine. No worries, accidentally turned off your computer, but you're back. Okay, we were just looking at setting up our Gwent deck here. And I was saying how it'd be kind of fun to use Nilfgaard against Nilfgaard, or at least Nilfgaard now that we are in Nilfgaard. So let's give it a shot here. We've thrown in Olgierd von Everett. And what? You're playing as Skellige? That's new. Oh, now, I feel the need to acknowledge, yes, in the Witcher, or in the Gwent standalone game, which I have been playing a lot of recently, there is a faction specifically for Skellige, and, you know, in the base game for The Witcher 3, there was no Skellige faction, so I figured, alright, maybe that's just, you know, something they added to the Gwent game, but just for whatever reason, they didn't have time to add it into Witcher 3. And I figured, like, maybe by the time we get to Skellige, maybe then it just makes a dramatic appearance, because, like, now you're here, so here's the faction. But no, DLC breaks it out, and I hope that means that we'll get the chance to play it as well at some point. That means we have a lot of catching up to do, because, of course, every other deck at this point is in a decent place. But let's see. For that reason, I have no idea what to expect, because obviously never played against it. I can guess, based on the standalone Witcher game, or the standalone Gwent game, what Skellige will have. High base strength units that deal damage to themselves and have a lot of damage to opponents. Maybe? Man, this music is fantastic. I'm not sure we want 2 Scorches. That's a little aggressive. Let's get rid of one. Commander's Horn. So we have the Gaunter you want to have, and none of the bad Gaunters, so that works well. Several medics, a good spy, actually 2 good spies. Yeah, and I don't know if melee nerf is going to be the right answer here. Do we have cards with melee row? We have spy we're going to play, which we actually would like to get nerfed, and then this guy's a hero, so he won't get nerfed, and Ciri's also here, so she won't get nerfed in melee row, so I think we're fine with that. Let's go with this then. Okay, we do go first. Let's play our unstealable spy, Mysterious Elf, and see what we get when we draw some cards here. Another hero and a medic. Okay, so what is the deal with... Excuse me? We put in the cow already, right? Because we did that for our previous match? I hope so. Can we use our leader ability to play the cow from their graveyard? Oh, I think we could in a future round, which would be helpful. So that'd be great. I think we probably do play a hero now, though, because otherwise we are going to be the ones that get scorched. I'd rather save our medic for bringing back a unit in a future round instead of bringing back a unit that just gets destroyed preemptively. Okay. So you do have some decent cards here. Cow, Ciri, those are both good. Does also mean that we would like to continue to play heroes here until you play a non-hero unit that actually has strength. Ah, okay. So, I recognize this card. It is in the Gwent standalone game. Strangely enough, in that, it is a unit that has an ability that only triggers in the melee row, so I was surprised to see it end up in the siege row. But it is a type bond unit. Okay, so yeah, the 6 strength that's something. But doubling that when you have numerous of them could get quite big quite quickly, so that is a little bit concerning. And by scorching that, we could potentially remove or reduce the effectiveness of that combo. But if you have more of them, if we could get greedy, if you have more of them, then that would be fantastic to get the chance to destroy multiple simultaneously. So I'm going to play our spy here and hope that they play the next round of their longship. They could potentially steal that spy, and oh yeah, we would like to have played Gaunter before playing that spy. Yes, that was technically a mistake. And now you used Dandelion to boost up your non-hero units, which will be the spy here, making that now the scorched target. So at least at the moment, this would be the thing that gets scorched. We'd like for this to be another... Would like for you to play another one of these long ships so they both get doubled up to 12, then that makes our scorch much better. Oh, we did draw into the cow, which is good. Because, yeah, I mean, we do want to... The reason why I played the spy there, in case you're like, Vids, how dare you misplay? I wanted to, you know, get greedy and see if we could get a better scorch. But it backfired. So let's do this. Yeah, I know. Mustard before spies is always the right answer. It was a misplay. Now you draw 2 cards. your elf. And we could melee nerf, because they did go Dandelion, so we can punish that a bit. We might even want to do that. I think we do that. Another card that is also in the Gwent standalone game. Another card that also has a melee row specific ability in that one, so surprised to see it end up in the range row. Also, don't know what Berserker means. Transform into a bear when a Martyrdom card is on its row. Okay. Okay. In the Gwent standalone game that Lids keeps on referencing, Bear Abominations are 6 strength cards. 6 strength tokens. Well, I imagine that that will be the case for this one here. We are running out of cards that we want to play, though. Is one issue. That is one issue. Hold on a second. Could we have... Theoretical question. They started off with a hero, right? Like Siri, and then they did the cow. Could we have scorched the cow when it was the only non-hero unit out there? It has 0 strength, but it was technically still the highest strength non-hero unit at the time. Would that still work, or is it unscorchable because it has 0 strength, so no matter what, it doesn't work, even if it's the only unit out there? So if we had done that, obviously it would have summoned the bovine protector, or whatever its name is, but it would have put the cow in their graveyard, which meant that we could have then used our leader ability to play it from their graveyard. So I mean, is that actually an efficient play? No. You know, you come out even on that exchange, but it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting, at the very least. Okay, well, I think at this point, we need to Commander's Horn, pass, or Scorch, because anything else will backfire on us. We could use the Gaunter, but I'm mad at myself for misplaying that. It still works to a certain extent, and it is enough to sneak under Scorch. So, yeah, tell you what, we should play it now. So plays one of them from our hand. We ideally would like to be exclusively playing those from our deck. Okay, but this is what we were waiting for. That is why I played our spy at the time that I did, was because I wanted them to do exactly what they just did and be able to remove 24 strength with Scorch. So in some ways, it did ultimately still end up working in our favor. It's like, basically, we drew into extra cards. Well, that does nothing. I think we passed here. But yeah, so we drew into extra cards from the spy, one of which was a card we were going to get anyway with our muster. So we basically didn't benefit as much from the spy as we otherwise could have. That's not the worst thing. But we have a 17-point advantage, and we played one fewer card, which means we absolutely should pass here. If they want to play more cards to catch up to us, that's fine. It means that it's going to take them more effort. It means they're going to have a bigger card disadvantage in rounds 2 and or 3, giving us a relatively simple way to pull off victories there. The one caveat to that is that they will have some carryover coming from when they get the Bovine Avenger in the beginning of round 2. But even that shouldn't be too much of a problem. See what they do? They do opt to play another card that, yes, is in the Gwent game, but look at this. I mean, Type Bond, yes, does trigger. They have 3 of them, but that melee nerf is doing work here. So they had to play 4 cards. 4 cards to catch up to us. Oh, we played our cow as well. So we're even here. And they need to pass. They've lost. You know, you could medic, theoretically, and get good cards back. Like, you medic and but at this point, you have 1 card remaining. So you would need to win round 3 with that one card, which is basically impossible. We have a ton of medics, so we could and should bring back the cow here. To give ourselves that carryover again. So let's get 1 strength to get our tiebreaker by being this medic. Although we're Nilfgaard, so we actually don't need to, per se. We could have just won on this round, but this does give us additional value for round 3, so this is still fine. And then we can medic the medic. Do that again, although if we medic the... Oh, what was... Huh? How did that happen? Is that their leader ability? How did you just come out of the graveyard? Place next to card with the same name, double strength of both cards. Yes. Same here. What's your leader ability? Shuffles all cards from each player's graveyard back into their decks. Oh. And that's gonna mess with our medic plays big time. Big time. So we should do as much of that on this turn as possible. If you scorch the cow, you do summon the protector. Okay. But it is possible to make that happen. Let's medic into medic. And then, like, we don't have really great options here. It's just going to be a 4 strength onto Odin Darkness, because otherwise you're just a worse version. The mustard doesn't do anything when everything else is in the graveyard, and the cow, if our opponent somehow found a way to scorch it, then yeah, it would work. But that's pretty darn unlikely, given how we do have other units out there that would take scorch priority away from it. Okay, their last card. He is one of those berserkers. But how does it actually become berserk? Transform into bear, abomination. Oh, when martyrdom card is on the road, but I guess you don't have one of those? Question mark. Okay, now we'll just medic more stuff, because presumably you're going to use your leader ability next turn. Let's get more 4 strengthers out here. And they just don't opt to do that. I mean, it's not really going to change much of anything, right? I mean, we've obviously won this at this stage. And then we double the siege row is technically the thing that would give the most, because Yen doesn't double, and our other melee hero also doesn't double. So, oh, we could also, I mean, for good measure, to play the spy from their graveyard. Oh man, what if we had deliberately used our leader ability first to steal their cow, and then deliberately scorched our own cow when it's like the only unit out there early? I don't know. Some crazy elaborate strats you could probably use to get a really inefficient way to trigger your own cow destruction. Bring in the bovine protector or avenger, but you know, at the end of the day, it's probably not actually going to benefit you. Okay, well, I mean, this is just overkill to the extreme at this point. But sure, take our medic back, replay the medic, resummon someone. Will be the. I mean, at this point, we've basically done muster just through medics, and we take the win. And I'm curious to see what reward we get out of this. Will we get Skellige cards? Will we get a flood of Skellige cards so we can actually begin playing Skellige?
Thought I knew them all. Guess I was wrong. Must be a one-off.
Hmm?
Message on the back, signed by a certain Count Monnier. Invitation to a tournament. Interesting.
Oh, another Gwent tournament? Gwent's to everything. Alright, birds. I see what you did there. Also pretty sure that's like actually a, maybe Bible? It's comes from something.